And so, as poor, yet making many rich. Plotitontes, the active voice. So present tense, again, progressive present. This can also be a gnomic present as a general fact. For anyone who's inside of the system, he makes many people rich. He provides the doctrine. Also, I mentioned the doctrine, the ministry of refreshment yesterday, under the doctrine of happiness. The ministry of refreshment is a ministry that many believers who are advanced have. I'm not sure if everyone has it, but I think some people have. I think everyone has it who's advanced. Everyone who's in some phase of spiritual adulthood. But my speculation is that some people have it more than others. Some people just have that great ability to make a person who's completely despondent and just refresh his soul and give him a full load of happiness for that moment, so as to become motivated and make the correct decisions at that moment. But yeah, if you have the ministry of refreshment, you're going to make many people happy. They're going to want you around. It's part of the opposites here. Some people hate you, some people love you. It's as simple as that. And those people are going to want to have you around. I assume that if you have a lot of doctrine, you're very relaxed. I assume that because you have a lot of doctrine, you have a good sense of humor. I assume that because you have a doctrine and you're learning words in the Greek, your English language is becoming much better. If you want your English and your Spanish to become better, take a Greek course or several Greek courses. Take a Latin course specifically. Oh, Latin's going to make you much better. Yeah, you're learning doctrine, you're learning another language, you're becoming better with your words, and therefore much more witty, much more eloquent in your speaking, and yet relaxed at the same time, not becoming a grammar snob. And I assume that also your tastes are becoming better if you have doctrine. Your dressing might become a little bit better, not just because you're a Christian and you're humble. It means that you must be looking like a slob. Not at all. And you have to demonstrate your discipline in all areas. Don't become a snob either in that area. I assume that you know how to party as well without having to get drunk, without having to get all sexual now. Now you have these principles and you know how to have fun without having to sin. And if you sin, use 1 John 1:9, alright? But yeah, you know how to have fun now. Now you know how to dance without having to perrear, get all, bump and grind type of stuff. Now you know how to dance. You know how to grab on a lady, spin her around, dance a nice cumbia or a nice waltz, whatever it is. And so people are going to want to have you around. That's part of the riches. Well, let's stick to the subject. This is talking about doctrine. You, to the extent that you share doctrine with a person and that person receives it, you make them rich. If you share the gospel with an unbeliever and he becomes saved because he believed in the Lord Jesus Christ, that's the beginning of making him rich. If you share any more doctrines with them afterwards so as to motivate them to learn some more doctrine, you made them rich. If you have the gift of pastor-teacher, you're constantly in the ministry of making people rich. And so what do we have? As poor, yet making many rich. And so we have in Proverbs, this proverb is one of the ones that we need to go over. Proverbs chapter 8, which is the personification of Bible doctrine. This, I do not have it right here. We're going to have to go over this verse pretty soon. But the doctrine is personified here. Does not wisdom call out? Does not understanding raise her voice? At the highest point along the way where the paths meet, she takes her stand. And so, to you people, I call out. So doctrine is personified here. And then you always see these passages talk about how doctrine is much more valuable than gold, silver, and precious stones. Literal gold, silver, and precious stones. Literally money. Things that have purchasing power. That give you material things. They give you a little bit of power as well in terms of financial status. Things that are used as a means of production, coinage. A means of purchase, sorry. Point 10. So verse 10, choose my instruction instead of silver. That is what doctrine is saying. My instruction, this is doctrinal teaching, instead of silver. Choose knowledge rather then choice gold. So this is what it's saying in verse 10. This is the imperative, second person of the cal. This is choose, keep choosing. Choose, even though, yeah. Keep choosing. Musari, this is instruction, doctrinal teaching. Wa, we have here, and then we have the negative al, kesef, and not silver. This literally means choose my instruction and do not emphasize silver. And then we have the other one, and continue. We bring this, and we have here bajar. So this one is, sorry, this is choose. This one's take my instruction and not silver. If you were given the option of taking doctrine or taking money, you have to take the silver, take the money rather. The doctrine is doctrinal capital inside of you. Now in the next clause it uses a different word, the nifal participle of bajar, to choose. It says to doth knowledge be chosen over gold. And then it gives you the explanation. For wisdom is more precious than rubies, and nothing you desire can compare with her. Eventually, when you have the doctrine inside of the soul, you can also have the material blessings as well, because God is the source of blessing. If you have the source of blessing, then obviously it follows that you're going to have the blessing itself. But we're so stupid that we always want to emphasize the thing instead of the one that created the thing. We want to have the blessing instead of the source of the blessing. But if you have the source of the blessing can easily come and go. And it doesn't matter if you lose it, you have the source of the blessing. And if it comes, the blessing, then good, you still have the source of the blessing and the blessing. So don't even have to worry so much about you trying to rise up in the scale and echelons, trying to make a name for yourself, trying to be rich, trying to appear as if you grew up in the other side of the tracks when you grew up in the east side of town, trying to pretend like your children are all refined when they're a bunch of little slobs who still do not know how to shower, etc. You don't have to put up a facade. Just learn doctrine. I've been to parties recently, and it's not appalling, but it still amazes me a little bit at the fact how people try to portray as if they're rich. They're still trying to give the impression as if they have a lot of money. And so, I'll pay something for you. I'll pay this food for you. All right. They spend $200, and then afterwards, all right, let's go to this store, and the man buys his wife a $200 purse. There's nothing wrong with a $200 purse. I'm simply emphasizing the fact that he's just demonstrating how he has purchasing power, and he has money. All right, let's go to this place, and he spends another a few $100s just for the purpose of making a demonstration that he has money. That's no way to live. Choose the source of the blessing. Choose doctrine, for it is much better than precious, than rubies and anything else. Okay. And now we have our next clause rather. Our verse thus far looks like this. As grieving, though yet always rejoicing. As poor, yet making many rich. This is the doctrine inside of you. You are rich already if you already have doctrine inside of your soul. But in you sharing this information with other people, you're making them rich as well. So you are rich even though you are poor. You are happy because of plus H even though you are grieving. And now for our last one. What does it say? We have here the comparative of hos once again. Hos. And then we have the participle. Present active participle, nominative plural masculine of echo. Echo means to have and to hold, to possess. Having, we're going to translate it as having nothing. We have this negative here of may, may, which is no, nothing. And then we have hen, which is one, not one. Why is the delta in there? Just for euphony. If you say may en, it doesn't make sense, but it's better to say may then. So that's why the Greeks inserted delta in there. So may then, not one thing, having nothing, as having nothing, as possessing nothing. This is the present tense as well, progressive present. Them in their spiritual life, they possess nothing. Paul and his team are walking around not having any properties, not having any great things, no chariots, no expensive garments. And there's nothing wrong with having property, nothing wrong with having a yacht or expensive properties, not at all. But if you find yourself in a situation where you possess nothing, make sure you have the doctrine inside of the soul so that you can possess all things. As possessing nothing. Active voice, Paul and his team produces the action of the verb of not having anything. And the participle, again, this is used as an independent, the independent use of the participle. It could be translated as also as a finite verb. As having nothing. And then what do we have here? Kai, though, we can translate it though or yet. As having nothing, yet possessing. We have katecho. Katecho. This is the same word that we see here of echo, except this is a compound word. Kata plus echo. Echo means to have and to hold. Kata means down. So we translate it, it becomes possessing. As possessing, as having something for you to keep. As possessing. This is the same word that was used in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 2. Of those who are saved, if you believed, you have believed in vain if you do not possess and hold the doctrine. And so possessing all things. Panta here is the accusative direct object of pas. And so all things, possessing all things. The present tense also catches the linear action start, the progressiveness of the action of having all things. The active voice, Paul and his team produce the action of the verb. You, by way of application, also have all things. To the extent that you advance in the plan of God, you have all things because you have the source of blessing. And the participle is also used as the independent use of the participle. And so we have a translation. We're done with all these opposites. As grieving, yet always rejoicing. As poor, yet making many rich. As having nothing, though or yet possessing all things. And I mean the all things. So these are the opposites that we have here. These opposites began in verse 8. Through glory and through dishonor, through bad report and good report, as deceivers though truthful, as unknown though fully known, as dying, but look, we live, as being disciplined though not being put to death, as grieving yet always rejoicing, as poor, yet making many rich, as having nothing, yet possessing all things. And now let us go to Psalm 23, because how is it possible for you to have nothing and yet possess all things? How is it possible for you to be poor yet be making many rich? No, we already mentioned doctrine, but you have God's logistical grace. God is taking care of you all the time. There's no way that he's going to abandon you because, first of all, the justice of God looks down. The justice of God is the point of contact that we make with God. Our point of contact is not the love of God. Our point of contact is not the omnipotence of God. And for those Calvinists, our point of contact with God is not the sovereignty of God. All these work together with his integrity, his justice, and righteousness. So when the point of contact, justice, looks down at the imputed righteousness inside of you, the imputed righteousness that you received at the moment of salvation, that you now continue having in phase 2, regardless of whatever mistakes you've committed, you do not lose your salvation, you do not lose that plus R. you continue having it. That justice looks down and sees, so one half of divine holiness looks down and sees that the other half of divine holiness inside of you, and he says, ooh, blessing. And this is logistical grace or living grace. Logistical grace. And so logistical grace means that he keeps you alive. He gives you everything necessary to be alive: food, shelter, clothing, and everything necessary for you to advance in the plan of God. And it also gives you motivational blessing. So this keeps you alive. That's how you can have all things. God knows exactly what you need. God even knows if you're a little bit expensive and you're a little bit prestigious here and there. He'll even provide that. If you're a little bit expensive to maintain once in a while, God knows that as well, and he can maintain you too. And also for those who are super grace believers, those who exploited the logistical grace and increased grace all the way to super grace, then yes, obviously it follows that you possess all things, even though you have nothing. If you're in a state of a super grace and you find yourself in a situation where you possess nothing, those super grace blessings still belong to you.